Yeah, it is kind of like an extraction project
Yeah,
by the U.S. Of course, the Lobito port is at the Atlantic, which is the
yeah.
closest for the U.S. to access. In as
And
much as
Angola's on there on board with them. Yeah,
yeah. That is where the port is in Lobito. It's in Angola.
yeah,
And the track itself leaves from Ndola in Zambia,
yeah,
and then it goes past the DRC, past Kolwezi, and I think Lubumbashi as well.
yeah,
Um, and then it crosses the border at Luau, and then it goes through to into Angola.
yeah.
And of course, this passing through the DRC is quite like an overt um, reach for the resources that are there
In
in
Angola, yeah.
in DRC specifically.
I mean, yeah. I
Uh,
meant
we
that's what I
know,
meant. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We know that there's cobalt there, which is needed for all these electric vehicles and things like that. And Zambia is speaking more or thinking more about investing in some agricultural projects as well that it thinks will be
yeah,
advantageous
yeah, yeah. And and
and
from
so forth
oh, sorry, you
for
cut. That's why I jumped in
resources
front. But you,
that
Kunle. So China,
sure.
China is not, and we'll come back to you, Lorato. Hopefully, the connection's better. China is not saying don't go ahead with this
Sure.
deal with the U.S. And also, countries like Angola and Democratic Republic and of Congo and and Zambia are not saying that they won't still do business with China. They're saying we're free to make alliances and everything. And I can assure you that if they make this line, China is also going to take advantage of it as well and into multiple dealings. But I think these countries need to look at who they deal with because it's better for them to take a full investment from BRICS nations rather than from the US. But that's just me being biased. But let's look at the history. China and Russia have been stable with African nations for decades now, and they haven't gone one foot wrong. China has been given debts, and they told Angola that we forgive your debt, but we're not going to continue with the project unless you do agriculture in your country. So they're even giving you advice. See, if I want my money back, I want you to do well. We're giving you advice that you need to diversify your economy because if you don't, you won't be able to pay us back well. That's sort of like me lending you money, Kunle, and saying, okay, I'll lend it to you, but only if you get a job and you straighten out your life. Because I know that when you do that, US doesn't care. They give you these loans and they'll get what they want by nickel crook. And companies from Spain and France are helping fund this because this is another attempt by the West and by America to continue fueling their imperialism and their overspending and their materialism with African resources. What do you think, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Western nations don't really have any interest in investing in Africa. There are
No, no.
several reasons for this. What they want to invest in is the ability to extract
To loot.
resources.
Yeah, yeah,
And in some cases, like in particular the Congo, if there's instability and fighting going on, so long as you can still extract the resources whilst the fighting is going on, then it doesn't matter what else
and put them on the train. Make sure you put them on that train and send them to America.
because like before, Western nations believe that in business there must be winners and losers. You cannot have both people winning. They just don't believe that philosophy.
Well, Kunle, sorry to interject. You remember Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter believes in win-win, but
We believe, yeah,
unfortunately, he's no longer
yeah,
America. He's no longer America's president. Continue. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So win-win is sort of like if you believe in a win-win, you're being a socialist or a communist in a
Oh,
Western.
thank you for giving me a compliment. I'm a socialist. Thank you.
When I criticize, I don't criticize the people because
Yeah,
everybody is individual and there's good
yeah.
people everywhere. What I criticize is the system and the government. So when
I know
I
I'm being
refer
funny.
to
Yeah, exactly.
America, I'm not talking about the American people. That's not fair
You're better than me because I'm
because
talking
they
about them
don't
because
really
they
have.
buy into this bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah, well, they are living under the illusion of choice, where they don't really have choice. They're being
yeah,
managed by the same single foreign entity that is APAC, that basically runs America, but they're
yeah,
being given the illusion of choice. Um, that illusion for me died when, on October 8th, when all the nonsense started coming out.
Oh yeah.
So the theory behind the European way of doing business can never benefit. All you do is you become poor, and if you're African, you're believed to be degenerate. If you're from the Middle East, you're Muslim, and Muslim, according to
Terrorist.
the average Westerner, they believe that Muslims are rapists, murderers, are involved in child sex rings,
Wait a
but
minute.
that's
It
going
sounds
to
like
do,
Diddy.
I'm
It
going to
sounds
do
like
Sharia
Diddy.
law,
You
and
sound
that's
like you were
all they.
talking about Diddy, Kunle.
Yeah. So that's been the belief that they're peddling to their
Oh yeah, but
people,
they
that
need to
we're all
look in their own
degenerates.
country. Everything you said is what America is. I'm serious. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is very sad. I mean, so they've created this impression. Anybody that's black or brown is a problem. That they've been let in, and they should be grateful, and and they're not really welcome. And
Yeah,
this
and I think what you sorry, go
deceit,
ahead. Finish off. Yeah.
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 So this deceit is creating this false vanity amongst
Yeah, yeah.
Westerners, and it's this vanity that will become their undoing because
Oh,
they're getting so close to a war. I mean, Russia just shut off all its gas to that passes through Ukraine to Europe. They just shut it off recently, so they're going to have serious problems. You know, they're lost in their vanity. These European and Western nations, they're just lost in their vanity, and it's going
okay,
to
so
backfire on
Kunle,
them.
here's what it boils down to. The Western system is not a rational system. Their business system is not rational. It's white supremacy, and the definition of white supremacy is that we don't mind if we're poor and we die, so long as nobody else is equal with us. So they don't. The Westerners are not concerned with being financially well off. They're concerned with being not having people of color at the same level as them, and this is what's going to lead. This is what's going to lead to the downfall of the Western Empire. So, what are your thoughts with this, Lorato? Going back also within the context, we've gone off track a little bit. With off track, off of the train track that's going to Congo to bring things back to the coast for Europe. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I think it becomes clear. We were having the same conversation when we were speaking about France, about the desperation for African minerals, right? And I was just thinking about it now, or what I had wanted to say earlier, when the thing was breaking, was that we know there's resources in Angola, and particularly uranium,
Mm-hmm.
which they haven't been able to get a hold of because Niger is holding back on its supplies, you know. But there's
Yeah.
copper, there's gold, there's manganese, there's platinum, um, in Angola that I think they could
Yeah, and
make.
quickly, this is why France is pivoting to Djibouti, to that part of the
Yes,
world. Yeah,
just
but go,
quickly,
let
very
Lorato
quickly.
continue. Then we'll continue. Sorry to cut
Sorry.
in front, but this is why France is pivoting because that's their new strategy. But go ahead. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then we
and
know
then we'll get
even
to Kunle. Don't worry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So we know also Zambia has emerald, gold, cobalt, some oil, I think, and I think some zinc as well,
Yeah,
um, according to what I have here on my notes. So of course now, like Kunle had actually said, that when you look at the more like the socialist or the communist development strategy, which China is going towards, it's thinking more collaboratively,
and
thinking
holistically.
more,
Yeah,
yeah, thinking a little bit more about intra trade between the countries,
and
in
also
which they,
development of agriculture and commodities, not just
yeah,
and or not just minerals. Yeah, yeah,
in which they are running their corridors through, um,
yeah.
and of
Silk Road
course
Initiative,
there
which
is,
the Europeans are trying to copy now. Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure. So there's a push. There is this push towards Africans doing a little bit more agriculture because we have the largest amount of arable land globally, I think.
Even more than
um
Russia. Yeah, because Africa is bigger than Russia as a continent. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But in terms of arable land as well,
Oh, arable.
Russia
Yeah, Russia. A
sometimes
lot of their land is cold and not extracting. Yeah,
has all these icy spots and things like that.
yeah.
So we have the most amount of land that is agriculture friendly. Um,
The northern
but
part of Nigeria could feed the whole continent. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. but then what we see in terms of how then the West constructs the infrastructure projects in Africa is that they
Hmm.
come to extract. They do not allow the African to develop his own refinery models or things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
in fact, you guys have the perfect example in Nigeria with Dangote
yeah,
uh, and his attempts to refine oil, and having all these issues with people who are importing
yeah.
what is essentially a raw material
And also
into.
refining Nigerians own companies in Malta where they refine it, Tinubu. Refining your own oil in Malta when you have Nigeria has one of the world's highest concentration of chemical engineers, but you have to send it to Malta to refine it. That makes no sense. Sorry,
Exactly,
continue. Yeah.
exactly. So sometimes this becomes the problem with especially the US, because the US tends to be sanction happy. Um, and we know now with someone like Trump coming through, he's been like going off about tariff this, tariff
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Um, so if you don't toe the line, um, according to US foreign policy,
Yeah.
then you have issues.
Yeah.
And I
As an
think
aside, I think it's good for Trump to put tariffs on America to continue putting these sanctions because it's making the rest of the world stronger and resilient and self-reliant. Because now they will find an alternative to the dollar. It'll just speed up the downfall of America. What do you think? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. I think
Unless they
that,
start a
that is,
nuclear war, which is we have to worry about. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I think that is kind of like an inevitability. But I think
Yeah. I hate that you're
when
saying that because that means our Formula One show won't be around in 3 years.
no, oh, no, I'm saying the downfall of the US
Oh
is
yeah, I
an
thought you meant nuclear war. Please, let's have some
is an
hope.
inevitability.
Uh,
That might be their strategy of
No,
trying
what they'll
to.
do is they're going to cause a big regional war in the Middle East, and the Middle East is going to suffer because of America's wrath. America is a brat that's going to punish the Middle East. They've started with Syria. They're not going to win, but they're going to wreck it as revenge. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think the US is similar to France and the European Union. They are not safe partners to go into
No, no, no,
business,
no, 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 no.
or they've proven not to be the
Yeah.
safest of partners
See,
to
see,
go into business with.
and
Um,
now that US has low credit rating, they've been degraded to junk loans. So even though they're powerful and they can still get money, credit agencies say that the US is one of the worst places to borrow. It has no credit worthiness. China and Russia, the reason they treat us fairly is not because they like us. They want to continue having goodwill with us because we have resources. Quickly, Lorato, then we'll go to Kunle. Sorry. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, for sure. And I think, I mean, the major difference with the US and the rest of the world in terms of their debt crisis is that they solve it simply by printing more money.
yeah.
Where else,
Inflation. Yeah.
yeah, where else we have to earn those dollars
That's good. That's good.
that we.
Look, my son is 15 years old, and he came home and told me, "Hey, Dad, guess how the Roman Empire ended?" I was like, "How? Printing money." And he learned that at school. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
sounds like America." No, that's how it will fall. And one day, people will say, "How did America and Great Britain fall?" Through printing money, because America and Great Britain have never actually developed their own country. For example, I was saying, how come the U.S. has technology, but it hasn't had it doesn't the government doesn't fund public schools? And somebody answered it. They said because they keep on importing foreigners from countries that have good education. So Britain and America are not investing and building themselves up. They're printing money and controlling other countries' resources so they can continue living way above their means. In the US, if you own a $1 million house, you're considered middle class. Anywhere else in the world, Portugal, if you own a house that's $30,000, you're considered rich. The American greed and materialism is going to destroy it. What do you think, Lorato? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think that there is um, that visa program that they have for exceptional individuals
Oh yeah,
who contribute in tech and medicine and all those kinds of things, so that
American military power was built by Nazis after World War II when they brought them to America. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, so that these innovations can benefit the US, and their industrial complex as it stands.
Yeah, yeah. Which is what it doesn't work. Their system is like in Lord of the Rings, where you cut all the trees to fuel yourself, then there's no trees left and you die. America's system, they're not feeding back and building infrastructure, going towards green and developing something sustainable. They're just gobbling things up, and when everything is eaten up, they'll have nothing. That's all I have to say. What do you think, Kunle?
I think the American system has become so lost in its Western system has become so lost in its own arrogance that it's lost focus of the things that made it great. What made the Western society great? You don't have to believe in God. This isn't about believing in God, though. But the growth of atheism is what ruined the Western system because it was Christianity and those values of those 10 core commandments that is actually what destroyed slavery, but also made that economically viable. If you look at
Yeah.
The Roman Empire died out. Christians were being sent to the lines 15 years before the Roman Empire
No, Rome
became.
had no value system. So
Yeah,
sorry to
had
cut
no.
in front of you. I'm not a religious person, but Marxist theorists have talked about this. During
Yeah,
feudal days, things were better than during capitalism because in feudal
correct.
days they had a central power in which they believed in, and they had a
Well,
value system. So
yeah,
now in Russia, it may be communism or it may be black consciousness, but Rome is an extension of America. It's materialism and it's nihilist, so they don't have a unified value system to keep them together. Continue, Kunle. Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
What Christianity actually did was it created a fastidious culture. Don't drink too much, don't smoke too much, only have one
And
wife.
unity too. They even say we won't kill
Marriage.
each other. We'll kill the
Yeah,
Africans and the Arabs because they're infidels. Continue. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, charity and the sanctity of marriage, although marriage has been in all cultures, but the sanctity of marriage. So all these things, when atheism came, as Dostoevsky said, where there is no God, everything is permitted. And
Yes.
that has now caused a situation in Western Europe where this excess money, they don't know what to do with the money. So now they're able to use this money to create a gender of people who are spending money they don't need to spend on expensive surgical treatment to basically destroy their children's bodies and turn
Oh,
them into
you're
what they,
talking about castration for kids who
yeah,
want it. Yeah.
gender, transgenderism, when you're destroying children's
Although I
bodies.
think you're going off topic, but we'll
Tattoo,
allow it for
or
today.
you can transgender. You can a child can't get a tattoo, but you can cut their penis off or their vaginas off to
My
sex
thing is
change.
my thing is that when they turn 18, let them do that. But you cannot as a parent. So their value systems are messed up. The US
Yes,
and the West, they need to be worried more about
and
stability and
you can't
agriculture.
even have so many situations. The West believe that they're free, but there's so many things that they just say they're so outraged they don't even want to have the conversation about it.
No,
And
they don't.
it's becoming more and more draconian because the democratic system should allow you to debate and question and discuss everything.
Okay.
And the way society is becoming in Western Europe, there's like Muslims are bad, and if you don't agree, you're a bad person, and you're going to get cancelled. And the cancel culture is just another word for totalitarianism.
Yeah, I was going to say
You
so. So
can't
what you have is,
always have
and
the
this
right.
totalitarian. Sorry to cut you. This totalitarianism is what I call fascist liberalism, in which only identity matters. These things matter. You don't look at economic situations. You talk about democracy, but you can't have a pure democracy anywhere in the world. Because if you had a pure democracy, if 70% of the population said we need slavery, you'd have to follow it. So my thing is, you need to be like China, Russia, and African countries, in which you have a good mix of liberalism and conservatism and tradition. Sorry, we'll come back to you, Conley. What are your thoughts, Lorato?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think we know the value system in the U.S. is a little bit skewed,
yeah.
which is why they are a dangerous country with which to partner. And I think we've seen the visa that I was mentioning earlier is the one that Elon Musk has actually had a tiff with the mega sort of cult following.
Oh, because he's
Um,
from South Africa. Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
was the
I mean,
visa thing? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, he was saying this based on the tech jobs that he knows he needs to fill with
Oh,
intelligent
yeah. So he
minds.
needs to have foreigners to do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they always get these either Indian tech guys or Chinese tech guys to come in and fill these positions.
And they don't know
Um,
coding. Actually, they don't know coding. Some of them.
yeah,
I think America is better at coding than those countries, to be honest with you. But maybe I'm wrong. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you see, in terms of the misunderstanding of sort of like the general populace when you speak about this democratic idea. Because
No.
if the general Americans who voted Trump in were to vote on the HB1 visa, they would vote for people to not be brought in, but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would actually impact some of the technologies that they enjoy, including the
Yeah.
very same
So
things
here's the
like,
thing. But the problem is that America, the white people who support Trump, they don't believe in government spending on education. There's, oh, that's for communism. They don't realize they're shooting themselves in the foot. Their children
exactly
aren't going to be properly educated. Yeah.
exactly my point, that
Yeah.
they don't realize how these things then attach to some of the benefits that they need to reap
Yeah.
in the longer term. So
Yeah.
when you put that to a democratic vote in a largely uneducated populace with
Yeah.
regards to how their own economy actually functions, it
So
becomes a very dangerous thing.
So,
Um,
so I'm going to cut you for a second. So now what you're mentioning is the argument they use against countries like China and Russia. They say they're too authoritarian. No, they are authoritarian enough because you have to have skilled people in high positions who override the democratic process to save the country. Perfect example, Putin, they won't say it in America. He has a master's degree and his thesis was Russian control of Russian minerals. That's what he wrote for his master thesis. So my thing is that second thing, America keeps changing presidents. Like now, Biden wants to do this thing with Mozambique and Angola. Biden won't be here tomorrow, so Trump will be here. So in a democratic system in which you keep changing your leaders overall, and you don't have one stable leader like Xi or Putin or people who have long term, you have less of a agenda that can be sustained long enough to follow through. You get what I'm saying, Lorato? Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do see that that trend working well for China and for Russia.
Yeah, because
Unfortunately,
changing presidents every year, oh, we're going to start a new war, it makes the country unstable. So we need a good balance
yeah,
between authoritarianism and change. Continue. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
sure, and I think mostly what we need is a proper cultural outlook. I mean, the perfect example here at home is Botswana, who have a
Oh,
perfect
yeah,
cultural
yeah.
outlook. They've been able to change presidents and still move forward. I mean, I think
They must
this
have
year
a
they
good
even,
constitution. And I know in
yeah,
America, I knew so many Botswanan kids, and they told me, oh, the government pays for our school. They're studying engineering, studying law there in America. The government pays for our school. Continue. Sorry. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So there is a solid cultural sort of ideal in terms of what the national
yeah,
interest is,
yeah.
in terms of developing the country and things like that, and even opposition parties get behind the
Have to
national
follow.
idea.
That reminds me of the Chinese Cultural Revolution when they on purposely rejected Western values and they created a central ethos by which they developed the country. And like you said, Botswana has it. We need to do a show on their philosopher president. That guy is
Yeah,
too philosophical, though, I think.
sure, but I think, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that then the idea has to be sort of like a cultural thing, because
Yeah.
also if even in a place like Burkina Faso, which is in the news a lot now, where they have like a seemingly militarized government,
Yeah.
but had
Yeah. Which they
but
need. Yeah.
yeah, but what Traore is doing is that he's continuing the cultural plan that Sankara had enlisted
Yeah.
back in the 80s before he was
Yeah,
assassinated.
and we need to focus more on that on our show because a lot of people think he's just a strong man. He's actually a philosopher, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
He knows
yeah,
what
yeah,
he's
yeah.
talking about. Yeah. And he's aligned with Russia and China. So if Russia and China are supporting someone whose hero is Sankara, it means that no matter how bad they are tolerating that ideology. In America, if you say you're a Sankara, you're dead. CIA will kill you. You
Yeah,
get my point. So these guys are still alive. And
sure.
we have to say Russia has sent troops. They're not really Russian troops. They're mercenaries to protect the Sahel. You heard about that too, Lorato, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, they um, and we know that, for example, Traore has had a few attempts on his life already.
And he's still
Um,
standing strong.
yeah. So there are those moves, but we were saying in the French segment of the show the other day about some of these puppets like the
Yeah.
Kenyan president, the Ghanaian president,
I shouldn't say
who
this, but if they kill Traore, I'm going to take up arms myself and go to the side hill. I'm serious, man.
yeah,
Don't come and
which
arrest me, FBI. Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, you have a good point. So last starts Lorato, then we'll go to Kunle. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think then what becomes a dangerous thing in terms of this entire narrative of interacting with the US is that you have some of these presidents, like I was mentioning, like the Kenyan and the Ghanaian president, who when they stand up, they speak about Africa uniting, about Africa using its resources, and so on and so forth. But when you look at their policies, you see that they are dollar leaning and
Yeah.
they sort of pandering
Yeah.
to the empire, which is actually a terrible thing for the country as a
Yeah.
whole in
Yeah.
terms of its outlook. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Kunle, what was that? I think Nigeria is more complex. Even though Tinubu is leaning towards France, I think Nigeria is so complex that it's actually buying into the BRICS system de facto and still with the West. But it's more the problem with Nigeria is internal corruption. What do you think, Kunle? Yeah.
Nigeria's problem is internal corruption.
Yeah.
I think that the BRICS
I think
that we're
Tinubu is
moving
tap
towards
dancing.
has not.
He's trying to please
Yes,
everything. So Nigeria is a de facto BRICS country. I'll say that. But go continue, Kunle. But it's also de facto colonial too. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think that Tinubu is genuinely a BRICS proponent. I think he's just an opportunist.
Pragmatic.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, he's just an opportunist because BRICS is not really I mean, BRICS is directly opposed and ideologically opposed to the West. I mean, it's sort of like it's a
Okay, but
new
Kunle, can
Warsaw
I check
Pact.
you very carefully? Can I check you? Can I check you? Unlike the West, which has IMF and NATO together, BRICS is a trade agreement, but they only disagree with America when it comes to policies that's trying to attack them. But they allow countries like India to still be with the West. So BRICS is not dogmatic. Continue.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
is for now. For now,
Yeah.
it's just trade, but in
Yeah.
the future, it could be so much more than trade.
Oh yes.
It could
Yes. Yes.
also involve military, security, and all that sort of thing. Because when you're trying to work with the economy and stability, these are also things that also are equally important.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yep. You know what
so
they're
so
doing? What
when
they're doing is they're saying not now, but when America and France and them still aggressive with what they do, then they'll come to the realization, which is what South Africa does. If you're going to be economically free from the West, you also have to have military alliances. I'm not a violent person, but in the world of humans, if you don't have military and violence, other cultures will take over you. Continue, Kunle. Yeah.
Yes, if you don't have, yes, I mean the ability to kill and the ability to
I'm against
export
killing, but you have to do it to
organized
protect your
violence.
family. And they're making us
Yes,
have to kill. You know what they say? Don't make me turn into a killer, but they're making us turn into killers. Continue. Sorry. Yeah, yeah,
yes, it's about organized violence. That's what's very important about
yeah.
what the West and America is the best at doing. Nobody is better than America at organized violence, and that has been basically the main export and the main power of the West. And
That's the
for many
power of the
years, it's
dollar. That's the
between
power of
the
the
aircraft.
dollar. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the aircraft carriers are back. Drones and hypersonic missiles is going to render aircraft carriers an expensive military technology obsolete overnight.
Yeah.
Overnight, you could just get a few cheap, you can get a few hypersonic missiles. You can wipe out every single uh, um,
So Kunle, you're
missiles, and that.
breaking. Yeah, you're breaking Kunle, but the point you made is important. So Iran, China, and Russia are the masters of hypersonic missiles, of drones. No, not China. China is logistics. Russia and Iran are top
Yeah,
notch over anybody. And this is why America is going after Iran so hard. It's the technology. And this goes back to the fact that America is an eroding country that prints money but doesn't develop its technology. Yeah, quickly, Kunle, then we'll end with Lorato. Yeah.
yeah. So it's not just about the technology. It's about the main problem that they have with Iran is that Iran has oil and they don't want to play ball with the West. That is it. There's
Yeah.
nothing more than that. With all this
But
nonsense
also they're developing their
about
nuclear
religion,
energy,
all deflection,
which
all
makes them
about
independent. Yeah.
religion, freedom, and oh, we're not free. That's all distraction and deflection because I've come to learn freedom is actually a form of sexual slavery. Because now in the West that they say that they're free, you now, because of transgenderism, you now trampled upon women's rights.
I
So
see what
then
you're
they
saying.
now
Yeah.
want, yeah, and then they now want to
Loretta, I
dictate
think Kool-Aid
women's rights
main
are because
focus is on that
of it.
transgender shit.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
they become that which they fear through their own through their own anger and outrage and moral vanity.
No, for
They
example, they
that
gave Bruce
which
Jenner
they
a
fear.
man. They gave Bruce Jenner a man, Woman of the Year. So now you're marginalizing women who were born with the organ, and now men are encroaching on their field. I don't see any
Yeah,
female called
yeah,
Man of the Year. You understand? I know
yeah.
what you're
What
saying.
they see a woman opening her legs to 20 women, they see that as
Yeah. Kula, you're breaking. So I think we're going to have to end with Lorato. But yeah, your point is big, and we're going to talk about that in the next show. So, Lorato, what are your last thoughts before we head out? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the dangerous thing about these kinds of policy approaches of suppression, what you suppress is what you amplify, because
Yeah.
the minute you
That's
start to
classic
replace,
Jungian philosophy, and it's true. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, the minute you start suppressing something, people then start focusing on what it is you're suppressing, and I think we've seen this in terms of how the U.S. reacts in its foreign policy sort of engagements in
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in who they try to suppress. For example, what they've been trying to do with sort of trying to micromanage South Africa's foreign engagement,
Which is not
like
working. Thank
foreign
God for what's
policy
her name?
engagement.
Naledi. I love that woman.
Yes,
She ain't going for it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, for sure. Uh, I mean, trying to talk us down from taking Israel to task for the genocide,
Not going to work.
or
Yeah.
yeah, or
well, they
trying
have to
to,
down to get it to work.
Yeah, but here's why. Lorato, they tried to talk down the world from the same people tried to talk down the world from ending apartheid, right? Same fools, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure, the same people. They try to
Biden.
talk us out of collaborating with Putin, to such an extent that actually Putin could not attend the BRICS conference that happened
And he was
here.
like, cool, I don't need to be there. I can stay here in Russia and talk to you guys on the phone. I didn't want to
Yeah,
travel
we can
anyway.
do Zoom now. We have Zoom.
Yeah,
No way,
sure,
they're gonna
sure,
try to
sure.
stop her talking. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so Lato, last thoughts then Kool-Aid. This has been a brilliant show, guys. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all those points, and actually then you look at what makes within the geo-economical space, what makes South Africa so important is because it's part of this trade route that accesses the Silk Road from the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a central
Yeah.
harbor space, um, and this Lobito corridor is is directly in this transatlantic
Yeah.
Atlantic sort of
Yeah. It's
trade.
not even about South African resources. It's purely logistical. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the trade space and things like that.
Hmm.
I remember I was watching this guy, I forget his name, this black Republican, old school guy who was talking about why Africa is underdeveloped, and he was making this sort of argument that because we did not have direct access to the oceans and things like that via most of our rivers, which I
Yeah.
think is
And isn't it funny that
which
that's
I
coming
think
from a Republican who they call backwards in America? And then they wonder why
yeah,
we
yeah,
wear
yeah.
Trump hats. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but yeah, but yeah, but I think
I
I
think it's Ben
think
Carson that said that.
no,
Dr.
it's
Ben
not Ben
Carson.
Carson.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
remember
Okay.
his name.
He's not smart enough to do
Um,
that. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but I think then there is this kind of thinking, in terms of like creating routes that exit Africa, um,
Yeah.
and I think this is where then also we need to see more from the African Union speaking more about African trade and
That's going to be
creating.
next. And I think the problem is that African countries have too much, each country has too much internal division. Then there are regional divisions. Then there are divisions within the region. Like my argument is that South Africa should be part of creating a new African Union. But before that, they need to have their Southern African bloc straight. You get my point? And then
Yeah, yeah,
internally,
we
I think
have
it's
the
pretty
SADC.
straight. SADC.
We
Yeah,
have
it's pretty
the,
straight.
the SADC region, but we're then sort of bogged down and troubled.
By
By,
DA.
yeah.
I'm just
But
joking. Yeah.
also by the miseducation of the electorate. Like you and Afolabi were speaking about like the xenophobic tendencies.
Yeah, I hate to say because I know you're
Uh,
from South Africa, but that xenophobia is affecting Pan African cooperation, and that needs to go. Yeah.
Yes, it's very detrimental.
yeah.
Nothing
So you
personal
have,
because we love Africa, we love South Africa, but that's a problem we've identified. And in
but
Nigeria, the problem is
but
colonial
this is
mentality.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. This is part of these like internal divisions
yeah,
that you're speaking about.
yeah,
Um, and Botswana is as great as it is, also sort of keeps to itself a little bit.
yeah. And
Um,
Lesotho, yeah, too. Yeah.
you know what I
And
mean?
Namibia is still owned by white folks.
Yeah, and Lesotho and Swaziland are already de facto South
Yeah,
African sort of
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
provinces
And
type
then
of
you've got
thing.
the DA, which is trying to undermine a conscious movement, and you've got a national. You have a national unity group, which doesn't have. It only has ANC, and then it has PA, which is basically what's that guy's name? The colored guy. What's his name? The head of PA.
Gayton McKenzie.
Mackenzie, that's just a DA ass kisser. But you don't have one socialist group like EFF or PAC that's aligned in that national unity. And ANC itself is suspect. What do you think, Lorato? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I think you are seeing, like I'm saying, all these kinds of like capitalistic leanings, and I mean all these conversations that we're having, even this Lobito corridor, has to do with resources. You go
it's
where the
resources.
resources
Yeah,
are, you start to see the conflict. I mean, even this mining scandal that we had now with miners being trapped underground. It's a resource matter. Um,
yeah. And we need to
but
wake up in Africa. That's why I say socialism. My definition of socialism is that your natural resources go towards the well-being of your country. Finish. It doesn't matter.
they must
It doesn't matter whether it
exactly.
goes through democracy or through feudalism, as long as it's for the well-being of the country, which means the well-being of everybody. That's
Yeah,
socialism.
yeah. Say what you must about China and Russia and all those
They
things,
take
but
care of their citizens. Yeah.
they make sure that first call of responsibilities to benefit the
And
citizens
also,
of.
they don't use imperial models. They're not imperial countries that benefit their country by killing other people for no reason. But although I will argue that Russia is really bad when it comes to the way they treat the neighboring as Uzbekistan and all those places, but that's not our problem.
Yeah. With a lot of issues, there's a lot of. I think there
Yeah,
is no perfect model that we've seen being
there's no perfect
presented
model, no. But
thus
thank
far.
God, nowhere in Africa are African nations fighting each other. Thank God for that. Although we're fighting
Yeah,
each other within our countries, though. Yeah, yeah,
within
yeah.
on the inside with tribalism
It's like the
and
bigger
all this.
problem in Africa, African nations is tribalism, not xenophobia. Tribalism is even worse. Yeah, yeah. Within a
There's
country.
that tribalism. There's the conflict between Rwanda and the DRC. I think,
Yeah.
which is also leading to an
Problem. Yeah, they're doing
escalation
that to
of.
keep the CIA is doing that to keep them unstable. So thanks, Loretta. I hate to cut you in front of you. Beautiful show. So Kunle, the guy who loves to talk, you get to take us out for the next 2 minutes or so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we had a good show today, and we discussed all the things that we have to discuss about Africa in general. Pan-Africanism is a very powerful force, and we need to collaborate. Africans and South Africans and Black Americans are all at each other's throats because we're all being screwed in different ways
Through different
by
holes. Through different holes too.
the government by
We're
the
being screwed through
government
different
of the snow
orifices.
bunny. In one way or
Yeah.
the other, the snow bunnies are screwing us over.
Yeah.
And we can only do well by combining our resources. It's not about a fight against the snow bunny. It's about making sure that we can gain our own position and respect and
And
also success
actually we're
in the
humanists
system.
because I'm a humanist. I want to be able to travel anywhere in the world and get along with human
Yes,
beings.
there's no
I,
reason why
yeah,
Africa cannot be like Western Europe in terms of wealth and prosperity.
yeah,
There's no reason
yeah,
why we can't be like.
yeah.
And I'd
And
like to
we
be able to be like, oh, South Africa is a lovely place to go. Congo is a lovely place to go. Nigeria, that's how it should be. We shouldn't be, um, South Africa will say, oh, look at Nigeria, you people are poor. Then Nigeria will say to South Africa, look at you. You are being, is the white people, you are just sitting in their house. Look at the black Americans will say, look at you.
and also
They are
Kule
monkeys.
also
Then
will
we
say
now tell
Egypt,
black Americans, oh, you
Algeria.
are
You people,
monkeys.
Kule also will say Egypt, Algeria. You people aren't real Africans. You're Arabs. No, all of that has to stop.
The
We're all
pettiness
Africans,
needs to
man.
stop.
Yeah,
We're all Africans. We all
yeah.
have different issues outstanding from the same problem, which we need to work out. And it's not about fighting, it's about being wise, being prudent, and not being stupid or selfish and being counterproductive. We have to stand up for each other. If we don't stand up for each other, we're wasting our time.